Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Hashem.
Another day to serve Hashem, Bezrat Hashem. Any questions before we begin?
Yeah, but what we're covering over in the Pekar about there's the two lessons. One is it's important to have it to work, and the second one it was that you need to hold the Torah above your work.
Right.
But this is to say that you were in a situation where you live a certain way where you're fine on the money and sustenance. You're okay. Could you study Torah and pay yourself to do the whatever? And is that called work, or is it actually get a job?
You're saying if somebody has enough sustenance that they don't actually need monetary assistance, should they still work or should they just study Torah all day?
Yeah, is it fine just to study Torah and?
I think it would depend on the person, because if somebody will be able to be fully committed to his Torah and he has enough money not only to support himself right now, but also he's in a place where he doesn't need to worry about, let's say, if somebody has a few months now worth of salary and is able to study for a few months, but then he knows that it's all going to hit him in the face after 6 months, so he should continue working now so he continues to have savings so he could responsibly hold both his Torah and both of his work. But if he has a tremendous amount of money and he now wants to study, so he has to look at his individual personality traits. If he's one that will be able to be focused and committed to the Torah, and he's able to learn for long amounts of time and not be distracted, so then he can go ahead and learn and not have to worry about supporting himself because he doesn't have that issue. But if he's a person that only has a certain amount of ability to learn,
what if the person
meaning,
has barely enough?
If he has a certain amount of capacity to learn, then he should go ahead and study a nice amount of Torah every day and work a little bit to keep himself busy and to keep his mind sharpened, because when somebody's not learning and he's not working, that's a problem. That's shi'imum, when somebody could come to boredom, and boredom could come to sin. So he never wants to come to a place of boredom. He never should say, oh, I'm not going to work because I have money. But are you actually able to learn? If you're able to learn, go study. If you're not able to learn, fill up your time with something productive. Work, do chesed, help out others, etc. What did you want to ask?
No, and also for blessings, what's the order? And if you put oil on something, you have to still say shekol on that, or can you just do break premium as a note for like the cracker or something you put oil on?
You just asked it a very loaded general question. There's a lot of answers and small details into the answer to your question. You might need to sharpen it. You want to ask specifically regarding these crackers and the oil? If you take crackers and you pour it in oil?
Yeah.
In that case, the oil is tafel. It's no longer important when it comes to the crackers, because the main thing that you're eating is the crackers.
Okay.
So therefore, even though the oil enhances the crackers, but since the oil is not the main factor, you would go ahead and make only a mezonot.
Okay.
That would be different if the thing that you're putting on it is the main thing. If that's what you're eating it for. So that could vary. It's more complex.
But let's say you're dipping it into cottage cheese, then you make a blessing in the cottage cheese.
I believe also for the cottage cheese, that would be, if you're eating it on the cracker and the main thing that you're eating is the cracker, it's probably going to be only a mezonot. But if you eat just the cottage cheese beforehand,
okay,
that would be sha'kol. If you eat the cottage cheese alone, if you're eating the cottage cheese together with the cracker, it's a good question. I'm not sure, because it could be the cottage cheese has its own chashivut, its own. It deserves its own attention, because you would eat cottage cheese alone. It's not like you're not going to eat pure olive oil, but you would eat cottage cheese alone. So I'm not sure what would be the halacha over there, but that's something that's important to look into further. That's hilchot brachot, of blessings.
okay.
The laws of blessings. It's very, very important to know those, what goes first, which blessings go first.
What's the order of blessings?
Again, it's very complex. We need to study that for a long amount of time.
It's
not just something I could answer you off the cuff, but the rule is it first goes with it. Shivat Aminim, this special 7 species of Israel, dates, chita, seora, barley, rimon is pomegranate. Then there's tamar is dates and another two. Those are the blessings of the 7 special species. They go first. In general, hamotzi, and then hamotzi is the first blessing, or abor preagefen. Those are the special ones. The blessing on the wine goes before. It has a zchut kedima. It goes before other blessings. Shahakol is the last blessing. Before that would go.
So Adamah goes before Mezonot if it is one of the 7 species. Otherwise, it goes after.
I believe Hadamah, you would first make a etz. Let's say you would first eat.
Okay.
You would first eat an olive.
Okay.
And then you would make a Hadamah. You would eat a cucumber.
Okay.
And then after that, you would go ahead and make a sha'akol.
And where does Mezonot go in there?
I skipped mizanot.
Yeah.
Mizanot will be even before.
The first thing is
in before
Mezonot.
mizanot, etz, I believe,
Okay.
right? Mizanot and etz. Where's etz before mizanot?
It goes by the order of the pasuk, right? It's like if you have wheat.
No, in general, what goes first?
I think it depends on the order that you want to eat by it's in the zona. Like one kind of like you can say in the zona because it's like sustenance, you know.
It could be that when you're doing shivat aminim, the etz will go before the mizanot.
Okay.
But like I said, there's a lot of depth in there. There's a lot of depth in there. What's important to know, just from the starters, that shakol is last. Hamotzi and hagefen are at the beginning.
Yeah.
That if you're eating something that has the species, that's one of the 7 species that in itself is a zchut kedima, goes before the other blessings. And hopefully we'll learn about it more in depth.
Okay.
So Hillel, in this Mishnah, the Mishnah that we're up to in Pirkei Avot, which is chapter 2, Mishnah 6, Mishnah Vav, Hillel is coming to teach us that everybody that does righteous in the world, he receives righteousness. And there's no such thing as death without sin, and there's no punishment without sin. Meaning any sort of pain or agony that one goes through in this world, that's a response and a sin and a punishment for a sin that a man did. So, Afu, meaning Hillel Azaken, Ragul Goret, he saw a skull, Shetzafal Pnei Hamayim, it was floating on top of the water. Va'amar la al da'tefta atfucha. This is Aramaic. Since in your life, the life of the one with the skull, you killed and you caused others to float in the water, so too, you died in the same way. Your head is floating in the water, and that's the way that the Creator of the world punishes those that do evil. Midah keneged midah, measure for measure, like it says, Bo kara v'yachpereu v'yipol b'shachet yifal, v'shuv amalo b'rosho v'al kodko chamaso yered. According to what one's actions are, that's the way that Hashem returns to them. That's what Hashem returns as their punishment. So you might think that if somebody did something evil, he gets repaid with evil. So now the one that gave him evil is not responsible because it's just God. The answer is, it is just God. But he's the one that's bearing this punishment, and he's the one that it's done through him. He agreed to do this damage, and therefore he's also punished.
That's why Pharaoh was punished.
Correct. Sof mitfayich yitufun. Sofu, the one that caused this skull to float, even though it was coming to that guy, because he did that to somebody else. But the one that did it to him is also gonna float because he had intention to do something bad to another one. So we just have to know it connects a lot to what we were learning in the Rambam, to understand that every single that there's measures. When the way that we look at a person, the way that we look at a city, the way that we look at a community, the way that we look at the world. How much is on the side of righteous, how much is on the side of wickedness, and how to weigh that out. So too over here, we see that when somebody does wicked, he's going to be repaid with wicked. When he does evil, he's going to be paid with evil.
Okay.
But if you choose to do evil, you're still going to be held responsible for the evil that you're doing, even though that's part of God's plan. Because you don't have to choose for it to be done through you.
Yeah.
So that's the overall concept of us to understand, for us to understand how the measures and how the scales work. Yesh din ve'yesh dayan. There's judgment and there's a judge. That's how we have to look at this world. When one does something, he has to know that he is going to have to pay for what he does. Whether he's just a messenger from the Creator of the world, that's true. But he has to make good choices.
Okay.
And when we see something, we have to know. Also, when we go through something, we have to realize that that's a direct response of something that sometimes we go through difficulties and we're blaming. We don't understand. We have to understand if it happened to us, it's coming to us somehow.
Like some water?
It's okay, thank you. Oh, you have a cup? Yeah, please.
There's
Thank
a cup and the bottles.
you. Ti-di-di-di-di-di. Before we do some Chumash today, I thought we would do some Yanuka Torah.
Awesome.
You like Yanuka Torah, right? Rav Shlomo Yehuda Be'eri, the holy tzadik from Rishon LeZion. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol nהיה בדברו.
Amen.
So Yanuka says as follows. He's speaking about the great segulot that one has when he learns limud halacha. What is the importance of learning halacha, like we do every day here? Rabbeinu Iskir, the Yanuka mentioned, et ma shemvoar b'Pri Etz Chaim, what's written in the Sefer Pri Etz Chaim that wrote Rabbeinu Itzhak Rafael Abuhatzeira, who's buried here in the holy city of Tzfat. Shelimud halacha b'iyun, the one that toils in the study of halacha, mishaberet klipat egoz, achofefet al hamoach. It breaks a klipa, which is a peel or a husk that's on top of the moach, the mind. This sort of klipa, this sort of concealment, is what causes a person to have imagination and to imagine not realistic things. And when somebody learns halacha, limud halacha miyasheret hasechel shel adam. It aligns a person's mind. Sometimes a person thinks a lot of things which are not practically applicable. It's called koach hademyon. We need it sometimes. You can look at a structure of a building and you can imagine what the end of that building is going to look like when it's complete. You can use the koach hamedameh, imagination, in order to come up with plans and to understand futuristic thoughts. But very often we're getting involved in a lot of futuristic things that are not practical and they're not applicable to our lives. And many times it's just dimyon, it's just imagination. It's not even using the imagination or the creativity in the right way. We use it in a negative way. So there's something there's a concealment that we have on our moach, and the Arizal says that when somebody learns halacha, bi'iyun, when somebody delves into the laws of halacha, he's breaking that klipa, he's breaking that concealment of the dimyonot, of the imaginations, and the midameh of a person. When somebody learns the halacha, he's able to straighten his mind. Maybe a good word would be to calibrate himself within, to have his mind synced and straight in the way that it needs to be. Also, Rabbeinu Shlomo Yehuda Be'eri mentioned שהאדם הלומד הלכה יתמקד בעיקר בטור ובית יוסף. When one learns halacha, he should focus on Tur and Bet Yosef. Those are two Sfarim. V'Shulchan Aruch, and that's also written by the same author as Bet Yosef, who's buried here in Tzfat. The Tur, this Arba Torah Zahav, there's a book called Arba Torah Zahav, that's the first main sefer of Halacha. And after that is pretty much the Shulchan Aruch. Which was written by Rabbi Yosef Karo, who's buried here in Tzfat, one of the masters of Halacha, and he pretty much he created an encyclopedia of Halacha, the most commonly used encyclopedia for all migzarim, all sects of observant Judaism, that goes to Sephardic Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, and almost everybody was accepted the Rabbi Yosef Karo as Mora Da'atra. He was the deciding main principal decision of Halacha in his time, and till today he's considered Mora Da'asra, and we look at him always with awe and reverence. And when we look at the Holy Bet Yosef, so he's telling us, obviously, when we learn Halacha, so we're right now in a place in our classes where we're learning what's called Halachot Psukot. So we learn, somebody takes a Halacha, starts on the top, and learns all of the different opinions, and it sort of trickles down to 4 or 5 lines or 10 lines to tell us, in this specific scenario, according to one commentary you do A, according to another commentary you do B, and if you can't do A and B, then you can do C. That would be what we learn, Halachot Psukot. When somebody learns Halacha B'Iyun, which is another level of learning Halacha, to learn Halacha in depth. So you start from the top. You begin in the Torah, which is this book called the Torah. That was even before the Bet Yosef and before Shulchan Aruch. And then from there you continue to learn the Bet Yosef, which is on the Torah. And then afterwards you move on to the Shulchan Aruch, which is another book from the Bet Yosef, which brings it down another level. One second, to summarize it and to concentrate it more. And then from there, there's many other commentaries like the Shach and the Taz, and then brings it all the way down to the Mishnah Berurah, the Chafetz Chaim, who is one of the main contemporary commentaries today, especially for Ashkenazic Jews. That's like their encyclopedia, but all of them always bring in the Lashon of the Mechaber, which is what's called the original text, which is the text of the Shulchan Aruch. So it's a whole structure of how contemporary halacha works, and it's very important to know it, and eventually one day to learn it from beginning to the end. Then when you look at a law, you know all of its applications, and you know all of its scenarios, and you know all of the different commentaries, and you could say according to which if you're talking to an Ashkenazi Jew, how he would, in what route he would call the Psak Halacha, what would be the ruling. If you're talking to a Sephardi Jew, what would be the Psak Halacha for him, and what would be a Psak Halacha which is unanimously accepted upon everyone. So that would be that is accessible when somebody learns the halachic rulings from beginning till the end. But if somebody's not on that level, which is many of us, we need to just focus on knowing practical application of halacha, especially for starters. What do I do? When I look at an instruction manual, it tells me, how do I set this up? First, I need to know, before understanding all the depth behind the halacha, which is extremely important, we need to know, how do I act? When I wake up in the morning, how many times do I wash my hands? What do I hold the cup with? How do I put on my shoes? What kind of food do I eat? What blessings do I make? How do I make those blessings? What's my after blessing? How do I pray? What's the order of prayer? What am I thinking about during prayer? Read the Torah. How do I read the Torah? How many people come up to the Torah? And it's never ending. It goes from early in the morning to late at night, towards how somebody should sleep, what should be the position that one sleep, how one should act with his wife, how one should think, how one should feel, how one should deal with his friends when it comes to monetary issues, how one should act with his friend when it comes to repentance to the Creator, repentance to between one another. It's fascinating. The Torah teaches us a guidebook of life and how to act in every scenario in the world. It's so amazing. People think that Halacha has, specific scenarios where we go with the Halacha, but then there's something that's, personal. Like, you don't need to ask a rabbi for that. You don't need to, that's not written in the books. You should know that on your own. The answer is, everything is written in the books. There's nothing that could happen in a human's life that's not written in the books, except for the interpersonal relationship that one has with his Creator. When we need to put our heart at the service of God, nobody could tell you how to put your heart at the service of God. Nobody could understand your passion for service of God. That's everyone. What one could feel in their own heart. But when it comes to any scenario, you have to deal with specific situations and thousands of different scenarios and generations and times. Sometimes you read certain laws, you would never think that they could ever be applicable. They're so foreign. But then you could hear of crazy situations. For example, if you would have learned certain laws of how people should act in solitary confinement with minimal food, and they don't know when it's day or night, they don't know what day of the year it is. You don't have those conditions nowadays. In prison, people know what day of the year it is. They have basic means to eat. But we just had these insane scenarios of people in tunnels and scenarios which we haven't had in very long periods of time. Maybe we had one scenario here of a kidnapping, but not in a tens of people, hundreds of people. So we have to realize that there are different periods of time when certain halachic rulings are applicable, and that's why we need to know them, because if the Creator of the world decides that right now there needs to be a scenario which we never could have imagined that our farthest dreams could ever come about. There's an amazing story with Rabbi Kanievsky, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, a holy great tzaddik from Bnei Brak that passed away within the last 10 years. And he was a master in the Torah study. He knew almost all portions of Torah by heart with tremendous toil, and he was a very, very holy Jew. And there was one time he was learning about a certain insect, a very, very complex insect which nobody had seen with their own eyes. And they were having a whole halachic conversation regarding how to act with a specific insect regarding tumah, regarding impurity. In Masechet Taharot, I believe, in the portion of purity. And they say that one day he was sitting at home learning in his book, and suddenly they opened the window, and this amazingly unique insect flew in and landed right in front of his eyes on the table that he was studying from. And he looked at it, and he understood exactly the deep understanding that he need to have in that specific halachic application. And the fly flew off, and he was able to know how to apply it practically. We have to know that everything in the Torah is practically applicable at the right time. Another scenario, there are so many amazing things that we learn about service in the Beit HaMikdash. Now, those that are learning the Daf Yomi, the daily portion of the Gemara, the tractate, you have today, they're learning Masechet Zvachim. The book of Zvachim is all about the rituals in the Beit HaMikdash. How many times did they split the blood? How did they do the sacrifices? Which different kinds of limbs? What's considered higher purity? What's considered lower purity? Kachim, kalim. So many different things. Who does the service? Which priest eats it? Is it also eaten by the one bringing it? What kind of animals do they use? Do they use sheep? Do they use rams? Males or females? One might think it's not practically applicable. The Torah is teaching us all of this is applicable. First of all, do you believe Mashiach could come tomorrow? If you believe Mashiach is going to come tomorrow, how are you going to be able to apply these things if you don't know them? You can have people, there are people in this generation that could literally envision the entire Beit HaMikdash, the blueprint of the Holy Temple, just by learning the Torah and all of the commentaries on the tractate and the Rambam and so many others, to be able to describe every single detail in the Holy Beit HaMikdash. They're going to come in to do the service, the holy priests. They're going to know exactly what's on the right side, what's on the left side, what are the measurements, and it's so detailed. We have to know that everything is practically applicable, and especially when it comes to things for the service of the temple, we have to know that that's something which we have to believe that could happen every day. We want to be prepared. We want to be prepared. We want to know how to do it. And even if we don't see something that's practically applicable, we have to know that it could be, and it's important. It's another part of our soul which needs to be rectified. Every part of the Torah, it has another it's keneged. It's opposites. Another part of us which needs a specific rectification. All the lo taseh and all the aseh. Ramach aseh, all of the commandments and the ones that are do and ones are do not do. Each one is connected our bodies. Ramach ivarenu, our limbs, v'shisagidenu, and our innards. So every part of the Torah and every single halacha is fixing something in our body, in our soul, in our nefesh, in order to bring us to completion. And that completion is done through all the Torah, but specifically through the learning of the halachot. So we spoke about, yes?
So we started out saying the ones that someone that toils in halacha. I am at a stage where I just learn a couple halacha a day. Is that fine,
Absolutely.
Or are you supposed
Absolutely.
to spend an hour?
Toiling is not measured specifically by which book you learn or how you need to learn. It means when you cause your mind to focus and you try to understand when something doesn't come easy, that's already considered toiling. Obviously, there's many levels. Sometimes somebody could try to learn a specific portion of the tractate or a specific halacha. He can toil over it for an hour and try to understand all of its context or even more. There's no ending. There's no end to how much toil can be. But even if somebody toils for 2 minutes to try and understand what his rabbi is saying, and that's his level, that's amazing. And for the rabbi, that may mean preparing his class for an hour beforehand so that he can give it to the student with clarity. And now, for the rabbi's rabbi, it might be looking for the source of the halachic law from the tractate and from all different places, and toiling over that to come to a final writing rule, to a psaka halacha that could take him weeks. But everybody in their own place. The most important thing is everybody should apply themselves with sincerity and with seriousness to want to really learn the halachot in order to keep them and to know how to practically apply them. When I put a cup of water on the table and I now have an olive on the table, I need to know. First I bless on the olive and now I bless on the cup. Everything I want to learn, I want to know, how do I practically apply this? Okay, Rabbi, so what does that mean? Tomorrow when I do this and that, I'm going to act like this? Yes. Okay. We want to try to bring everything down. We're not just trying to keep everything in the air. Oh, we learned some Torah, which is great. It's nice to learn Torah in general. But we want to lishmo ve'la'asot u'lekayem. To watch and lishmo, to do and to maintain the Torah that we learn. And especially when it comes to limud halacha. Because how do we know how to live? How do we know what to do when we wake up in the morning? How do we know what to do when lunchtime comes? How do we know what to do if we're about to pray mincha and we're very hungry and we want to now eat a full meal, wash our hands? There's special laws that one shouldn't wash at a certain time before. I'm not saying anything right now because I'm not looking at it inside, but just generally, because somebody might, start a whole party and forget he needs to pray before he knows it, it's after sunset. Everybody has to know. Again, that has to be discussed, whether it's bread, if he has a specific time to pray. That won't be applicable. But Hashem will get there. But there's important guide rules for every single part of our day and our ritual and our life. And the more that we learn halacha, the more that we're able to really be engaged in what we're doing. And to know how to do it. And to know how to be closer to Hashem. So he said from Tur Bet Yosef Shulchan Aruch. And he said it's very important that one learns the Bet Yosef, and he shouldn't jump straight to the Shulchan Aruch. These are again the books. כי Bet Yosef תמונים כל יסודות ההלכה, ואי אפשר להבין כראוי את השולחן ערוך בלי לימוד הבית יוסף. Like we discussed before, that's the context of the Bet Yosef. So like I said, we right now where we're learning halachot psukot. We're learning laws that just tell us what to do in the bottom line. As we continue to advance, we'll continue to learn the sources so that we can understand the rulings better. The more that we understand the source, the better we can know how to apply it in many different scenarios. Another interesting pearl of wisdom from the holy Yanuka.
Before you continue, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So is Beit Yosef similar to like it's similar to like a disagreement in like they're talking about the stuff, and the Torah is even more of a disagreement? Or could you present one thing?
What's he asking? I don't understand the question. Can you explain the question? No, seriously.
Asking, what's the difference between the Shulchan Aruch and the Beit Yosef?
Sure.
The Shulchan Aruch is Rav Yosef Karo looking back at 3 different halachic books and putting them together in a Beit. Shulchan Aruch, what all the Jews of the world pretty much follow, is Rav Yosef Karo sitting there in Tzfat with 3 books in front of him. One is the Rosh, Rabbeinu Asher. Another one is his son, the Torah, and another one is the Rambam. He took those 3 rabbis, and when he brought up different questions of things you do during your day, he says, okay, 2 verse 1, majority rules. What does the Rosh say? What does the Torah say? What does the Rambam say? And whenever there was 2 verse 1, that's for the most part what made it into the Shulchan Aruch. There are exceptions to that rule, but that's how the main thing went down. So the Shulchan Aruch is a finalized book, which isn't final for our generation, but at its time it was. Finalized book, looking back at the 3 previous biggest rabbis we had in the world, putting them together in a Beit Din. Here guys, here's the case. What do you say? Rambam, you say like this. Torah, you agree with the Rambam? Okay, so the Rosh lost on this one. The Halacha goes like that.
So then, what is the Torah? The book before the Beit Yosef?
It's one of the 3.
Oh, one of the
And then out of that came a Beit Yosef writing a whole bunch of commentary and all this, but it's very, very, very long, and you learn for a long time. And then came the Shulchan Aruch, was here's the line.
One sentence.
This is what you like. And now we have the Mishnah Berurah breaking it down even more.
Okay.
And the Yalkut Yosef.
Yalkut Yosef, which is, no, that's already Halacha Psuka.
Oh,
Which is
so.
what the Shulchan Aruch was meant to be 500 years ago, but now it's not.
But where does Rabbi Vadia go into great length to explain? Bia Omer. There he goes.
Alichot Olam and the Ben Ish Chai.
Right.
Yalkut
Yes.
Yosef is Halacha Psuka.
That's more Halacha Psuka.
That's very cute.
Yeah, so there you see, you open that book, you could learn in the footnotes that the main book is the upper half, and there's just one-liners. Do this, don't do this, don't do that. There's no learning there. You're learning what to do, but you're not learning halacha, the flow from the Torah, from the pasuk, how to go through the Mishnah, Gemara, Rishonim, Achronim, Tanakh. That's what he's talking about.
In the Kut Halakot is something totally
That's
different.
Pnimiyut. That's Chassidut.
Now he takes Shulchan Aruch, which is the outcome of all everything,
Yeah.
and he brings Rabbi Nachman and he says, watch how these 2 go well together.
That's
Okay.
Chassidut. That's Pnimiyut. That's the depth.
He's bringing the Kabbalah behind Allah.
Yes,
Or like the reason behind the halak. Okay.
the heart. But together with that, so he's saying what you have. He's telling us that it's not only we shouldn't be satisfied with just knowing the bottom line. We want to know how we got to the bottom line. We want to understand the depth of it also. That's what he's telling us. Another
So
thing.
you know these guys are here in Kollel here?
Yeah.
What are they doing? They're learning.
They start from the top of the ladder.
From the Torah, into the Mishnah, into the Gemara, into the Rambam, into the Rosh, Torah, Shulchan Aruch, Beit Yosef, Shulchan Aruch, Mishnah Berurah. Now practically, how do I rule if someone drops milk inside of the pot of meat? What is the rule?
How
And
much
now they know from the Torah all the last 3,000 years of rulings. That's what they're doing all day long in the Kollel.
Eliyahu.
Oh wow.
Number 3, רבינו הזכיר שבששת ימי השבוע שהם ימי המלאכה צריך ללמוד הלכה. He says during the 6 days of the week it's the best time to learn הלכה. ובשבת, but on the holy day of Shabbos, שזה כנגד העולם האצילות. Shabbat stands opposite the world of Atzilut, which is the higher world. ישנה מעלה גדולה להתעסק בתורת הסוד. That's a day which has a special. It's a more appropriate time to learn the secrets of the Torah and to learn the Zohar HaKadosh. So there's a right time for everything. Shabbat is a time when somebody could learn things that are more mystical, things that are more connected to higher worlds, to Torah, to Olam HaAtzilut, to the world of Atzilut. But during the week, Sheshet Yemei HaMaaseh, it's the time of doing, it's the time of work. It's Yemei HaMelacha. So we have to know in the day of work, what's the halacha? Although there are definitely halachot of Shabbat, that we have to know how to keep them on Shabbat. That's also important. One should always know what to do at Shabbat. It doesn't mean somebody should not learn halachot. It just means if somebody's going to spend many hours a day during the week learning the depth of the halacha, he could spend hours during Shabbat to learn about things which are in a little bit of another atmosphere. If you hang around here on Shabbat, you don't have this problem because everything is atzilut and we fly. But you guys are all welcome to come to Tzfat for Shabbat and we could fly away together. But don't worry, afterwards we come back to ground. We don't stay there forever. There's not much time left for Chumash, so maybe we'll do Chumash tomorrow. Let's learn one Halacha from the Rambam, and we can move on to Rabbi Nachman. How do you say a min? Apostate? Min. Apostate? Apostate. Okay.
Heretic is better one.
Heretic. חמישה האם הנקראים מינים. There's 5 that are called heretics. These are ones that they do not have a portion in the world to come. I skipped the previous halacha, sorry. That's for tomorrow. Who are those that do not have a portion in the world to come? Says the Holy Rambam. ואלו הם שאין להם חלק לעולם הבא, אלא נחרטים, they're cut off, ועובדים, and they're lost from this world like an animal. ונידונים, they are judged in hell with great suffering. על גודל רישם וחטאתם, on the greatness of their wickedness and their sins. לעולם ולעולמי עולמים, forever. Okay, it's a little bit intense. Aminim. These are ones that they accepted another God besides for the God of Israel. That's minim. Apikolsim.
This is the original name for the Christians too.
Okay, you could specify. I'm a little afraid to specify what's what. It's some pretty scary stuff.
That minim and mansinim. It's added for.
Okay, I'm sure. I agree. You could elaborate later. I'm afraid of the comments.
It's on my channel. Say what you
Eliyahu, we're one. There's no such thing as mine. It's all one. I keep telling you this. I don't know how to do this. Mine. We're one. Guf echad. Am Yisrael. It goes for good or for worse, you know? It's for the compliments. It also goes for the other side, my friend. Minim. Those are ones that took another God besides for the God of Israel. Apikolsim. Those are those that do not believe in prophecy, or hashkacha, means that God is actively controlling the world, not just that there once was a God and he went to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Created the world and then he decided he wants to go play poker and live out the rest of his life in peace and harmony because the world was too difficult for him to continue leading. He is the creator of the world and he continues to lead the world, and every moment he maintains the world. HaKofrim b'Torah. Those are the ones that don't believe in the truth of the written Torah and the Torah which is the Torah by mouth, Torah shebiktab v'Torah shebal peh. VaKofrim b'tchiyat hamitim. And those that don't believe that there will be resurrection of the dead. U'b'neviat hagoel hamordim. And those that HaKofrim b'tchiyat hamitim, those that don't believe in the resurrection of the dead, u'b'neviat hagoel, or that there's going to come a Messiah. We have to believe that there is a Messiah that's going to come redeem us. Hamordim, those that they go against the laws of the Torah in public, just to anger the Creator. They try to go against God publicly. U'machtia rabim, those that cause others to sin publicly. They try to cause people to get away from the Torah and to be public sinners. V'porshim midarkei hatzibur, and those that are not connected at all to the pain of Israel, meaning they don't go in the path of the general congregation of those that do the holy mitzvot, or when the congregation gets together to mourn or to beseech for something, and they fast, and people that I'm not a part of that nation, they do not associate themselves with the congregation. They take themselves out of the congregation. They're not this doesn't mean somebody that doesn't know. It doesn't mean somebody doesn't understand what the congregation is doing. It means somebody who purposely is not connected. He's not part of the pain or the oneness of the Jewish nation. Somebody that does brazen sins. He does it brazenly, befaresia, in front of everybody. Ke'oyakim, like King Yoyakim. I'm not sure what he did. You know what Yoyakim did? I'm sorry? Those are that caused the congregations the many people, the masses, to sin. V'amusrim, those that snitch on their friends and throw them to the nations. So they go ahead and they snitch and they cause people to get into trouble with the government or Gentile authority, as well as matile ema. These are people that their job is to collect taxes and fines of the Jewish nation. And they fear them and sort of coerce them into paying large fines. They pretty much extract money out of them. Extracting money out of them. They're doing this to the masses, lo l'shem shamayim. They're called mosrim, and they're called matile ema l'tzibur shelo l'shem shamayim. They create fear, and they... What?
It's not just people that take money.
Not specific.
A rabbi that speaks dinim all the time is matile ema. A father that causes too much fear is matile ema.
But I'm not sure. This is talking about ala tzibur. It's not ala yachid. We're talking about on the masses. Somebody that...
A rabbi that speaks dinim all the time.
Maybe. I think it's talking about financially.
No, but the fact that a person takes money from a tzibur is not a problem.
No, we're not. We said lo l'shem shamayim. It doesn't mean somebody that just has a job to connect our no. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody that you never heard about what these pirates used to do back in the day. They used to come up with these extra taxes just to hurt the Jews, and they would say, if you can't pay it, we're going to throw your leaders in, and they would do all these different... It was extortion, terrible extortion. And they did this for generations, all over, and all different kinds of terrible things. And very often, you know where their henchmen were. We don't want to say, but our fellow brethren. Shofchei damim, and those that are murderers, ubalei lashon hara, those that are busy talking about the negatives and the bad shortcomings of all of their friends. V'amoshech orlato, and one that covers up his brit milah, so that people can't see that he's circumcised. He's pretty much trying to cover over his signature of his Judaism. He goes ahead and he covers over his orla. He tries to pull the foreskin back over, which was covering over his ot brit, in order to show that he's no longer associated with the Jewish nation. He's ashamed of his circumcision of his connection between him and the Creator.
So it's not shielding yourself from becoming out of the mikvah.
No, that's being modest. That's something totally different. It's talking about somebody that doesn't.
Literally, they try to reverse it.
Yeah, they try to reverse it.
People used to be dead back in the day. They try to pull the skin back over it.
Oh, okay.
So these are overall the things. It's scary that one of these things is lashon hara. We have to realize that when somebody speaks negatively about their friends, it doesn't mean somebody by mistake, and it doesn't mean, but if somebody becomes a baal lashon hara, and he goes right next to shvichat damim. He goes right next to somebody who's a murderer, God forbid. Okay, these are all different things. I'm sure none of these categories apply for anybody in the Jewish nation today. I'm sure everybody, Am Yisrael, kulam tzadikim, we have to look at everybody with a good ayin tovah, and we should see only good, Be'ezrat Hashem. That the Rambam is just teaching us concepts that maybe we could find little sparks of these things that need to be fixed in the Jewish nation. But I'm sure these categories are very heavy categories that we don't find today, especially the level of the generation that we have today. It's hard to find what's called a bal avera chamura, a very, very bad evildoer. Where do we have one that's trying to anger heaven or is purposely trying to bring the masses to sin and great. We have to hope that none of these things exist today, Be'ezrat Hashem.
I thought the level of people today is much lower than people hundreds of years ago, because they're closer to Sunday.
Maybe in practical application they're lower. Meaning, if back in the day they did 100, maybe today they're doing 50. But 50 today could be worth 150 in the previous generations. Because since we have such great temptations and since we're so far away from the source of light, so everything that we do is that much greater.
Okay.
So there's really no reference to previous generations today. That's why there's one of the Gemarot that says that if you laugh on idol worship, if you would have been in our generation, you would have picked up your robe and run to worship an idol. Meaning, you don't even understand what kind of temptations we had. You think right now, because there's no temptations for that it's not even a temptation. But if you would have experienced that, Be'ezrat Hashem, we should be able to.
Said that we might have a lower level of spirituality, but intellectually we're on a higher level. We're more mature than they were back then. And as he says the proof is nuclear, like nuclear development.
Ooh, you're gonna like this one. שיחות הר"ן, שיחה כ"ב. טוב מאוד מי שזוכה להיות מקורב לצדיק אמיתי. It's very important to be connected to a real tzaddik. כי לעתיד לבוא כתיב לאחוז בכנפות הארץ וינערו רשעים ממנה. To hold on to the corners of the land and to shake off the rishayim, the evildoers. So what does this mean? שיוחז בכנפות הארץ וינער את הרשעים. To hold on to the corners and to shake off the wicked doers. אבל מישהו מקורב לצדיק אמיתי, but somebody that's connected to a true tzaddik, אז יחזיק ויוחז עצמו בצדיק, he'll hold on to the great tzaddik. ויהיה נשאר קיים, and he'll be able to last in the world to come. ולא יהיה ננער עם הרשעים, and he won't be shaken off. And when they shake off these rishayim, he's going to be holding on to the tzaddik, he's going to have a good grip. מאחר שיחזיק ויוחז עצמו בצדיק. I'm sure it also means that in this world he's going to be good, but kal v'chomer in the next world. If he holds on, then in the next world, when we want to shake off the evildoers, he's going to have this. There's other places where it discussed that when somebody's close to a tzaddik, in the world to come, he will give him garments that he'll be able to wear to cover him over. If he's lacking, if he has dirty garments and he's lacking, then the tzaddik will give him special garments. We have to see that Be'ezrat Hashem, B'siyata Dishmaya. So we should be able to be zocheh. Firstly, today we learned amazingly how everything that we do in this world is midah keneged midah. Whatever we do, we get paid accordingly. Judgment for judgment. So it's important for us to know that everything that comes upon us is we brought it upon ourselves, and if we were mistaken and we're getting some sort of pain or agony, it's because we may have made a mistake, and right now we're rectifying it through that. And if somebody did something and it needed to be repaid negatively, then although that payment is coming from the Creator, the one that brings it to him is also going to have to pay, and he's going to get paid negatively, because although it's coming from the Creator, he didn't have to choose to be the messenger. That's what we learned in Pirkei Avot, and we learned amazing, deep appreciation for the learning of Halacha and how important it is to delve into the depth and the sources of the holy halachot, how important it is to be able to learn the ways to get close to God practically and to know the sources so they'll be applicable, and it calibrates the mind, like we mentioned beautifully how the Yanuka explains that when somebody learns halacha from the Arizal, he's able to take away those concealments that he has in his mind. He doesn't have dimyonot and imagination. He's able to align himself through learning halacha b'iyun, toiling over the learning of halacha, and how beautiful and how the main time to learn halacha is during the week. Be'ezrat Hashem, we learned a little bit about which sects and evildoers don't have much of a tikkun. They do not have any tikkun, and hopefully that doesn't exist nowadays. And we learned about how we have to be connected to true tzadikim, and how that will bring us light in this world. And Be'ezrat Hashem, in the next world, we won't be able to be shaken away together with the evildoers. We will cling on tight to to the holy tzadikim, and they will keep us and give us a lot in this world, they give us a lot in the next world. We should be able to pass through this life with Dveikut and with simcha, with happiness and with great bliss, and we should be able to see the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu b'meira b'yameinu, amen. Have an amazing, amazing day.